Hey everyone, it's Alicia Brashay here at Cosmic Gateway, and I have the absolute pleasure of being here with the wonderful, the one and only Katie Jane, who does holistic and music sound therapy. And welcome. Just this
Cool.
beautiful lady has no need for any more introduction. Um, so yeah, thank you for being here, and I am so excited to talk on this topic. Whatever's going to come through, we just hit record.
Magic.
Yeah, yeah. So first of all, let's get acquainted with you for those people who don't know you. You know, who are you? Where are you based? And
Cool.
yeah, tell us a little bit.
Cool. Well, I am currently based in Brisbane in Australia. I
Mhm,
live in the leafy green suburb of Barden. I run my practice online and from home.
mhm,
Yes, my journey with sound, I think, began from maybe like 5 years old. My mom was always like, play for release, play for release. And I was always like, no, like I don't want to do this. And then as I got older, my parents kind of like kept pushing me and they were like, you're really good, like keep playing. So then I went through like competitions and then I studied music and music extension in high school. And my teachers were always like, you're really good. I was like, oh, it's fun. And then I studied classical music on the piano at UQ for a year. And then I was like, I can't do this. So then I went and traveled for like 5 years. I left Australia and I was like, I'm going to go find who I am. I'm going to go learn. And then I came back and I was like, whoa, I wonder if I can still play the piano and do this. And I couldn't play, but I could compose. Like my compositions got better than I'd ever been at university. It was like all of this, I guess after spiritual awakening, I had all of these downloads and like I'd sit down to the keyboard and it would be weird. Like I remember Will would be like, let's go for dinner. I'd be like, no, not now, my partner. And then I would just be in this like trance state and like I'd have synesthesia and all these colors would come out and all of this music would come out of me. And so I started recording and then I realized, hey, like I really can relay messages through composition.
Oh,
And then I remember I wanted to go and study music therapy at uni in Melbourne, but I was like, it's missing something. Like I always thought that music therapy was missing something, and that was frequencies. It was like I wanted to help people with sound, but then I was like, yo, there's something missing. And it was frequency. So I went and studied in San Francisco at the Globe Institute of Sound Healing with David Gibson and Randy Masters, who are amazing teachers and other people. And I kind of learned the science of sound and like sacred geometry and just a whole nother world of where music therapy integrates with sound healing and how you can heal humans through sound and timbre and rhythm. And so now I work with crystal bowls, tuning forks, kind of just like creating music on one level and then doing sound healing on another level. My life is just music and sound.
oh. Thank you so much for sharing. These are some things I actually didn't know about you, and I've known you for a while, so I'm sitting here in awe because thank you. And like I have had the privilege of knowing you for about a year, give or take. I'm not really sure.
20,000 million years, yes.
I was about to say, yeah, in this lifetime, but obviously when we first connected, it was just like, oh, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I I just admire you and the work that you do so much because something that I don't um, it's something that I don't do, obviously, but it's something that I know is so beneficial. And I have had the privilege of doing sessions with you, like, you know, via distance and it's just,
That was crazy. That was
oh,
really
other
powerful. I
level.
think I felt so safe with you to be able to, I think the trust was there. So I kind of like let my mind go out of the way and frequencies and the codes coming through my voice. Like, I think when you're with someone, it's kind of intimidating because you are making weird noises. You're and but when you let that flow, I could, definitely see. It was like I could sing codes and light into your body that
And just the beauty of it was that you recorded it. And so I go back, I almost listen to it like, well, in the beginning it was daily or twice a day. It would just, there was something so magical about the sound, like all the elements of sound, not just the bowls, but what was coming through you just rippled through me again and again and again.
And the energy is caught in that time, space, and sent as like a package, you know, it's all wrapped up. And every time you go there, it's like you're back in that energy bubble, that frequency bubble. So it is again and again and again.
And it's, I could just go on and on about it. But what I really want to talk to you about, because even though I resonate so deeply with sound, I think that's kind of an Arcturian thing, and we can go into that later.
Totally.
But it's not something that I've yet tapped into in my work so much, and I don't know a lot about it, like in my mind, like consciously. But one thing I will say, just side note, and this has just come through, you don't know this. What I've been noticing just in general is obviously working with different practitioners. There's this element of sharing gifts going on. I've noticed this for a while. And after I had done some sessions with you, now, by no means am I a sound therapist, and I don't think I ever will be. But I did one particular session, and like you said, I felt very safe with that person. And all of a sudden this toning wanted to come out of me, and that has never happened before. And there was a part of me, it had to happen because I could hear the light language and they wanted me to speak it. And I've never done that before. And I felt a little bit like, oh, I have to do it. So, thank you. I don't think, or at least at this point, don't think I'll integrate that into my work. Who knows? But I love that element because that's something that is truly a gift to you, like the sound and the frequency and the language that comes out, as well as what you play, is so incredibly powerful. Can you share a bit more about what that's like for you? Or
I think that I've always had a kind of knowing and an understanding. I remember the first time I was in, where was I? Byron Bay. This lady came up to me maybe when I was like 17, and she did psychic readings, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that, because I wasn't sure about all that stuff at the time. And she comes up to me and she was like, sound. And I was like, what? She's like, your life is about sound. And I was like, oh, like I like music. And that's always stuck with me. She was like, your life purpose is sound. And I remember at that time I didn't understand what sound meant.
Yeah.
On the multi-layered every single level, I was like, oh, like playing the piano is nice. And then and then and then and again and again, I've just had so many reflections and so many, I guess, like going through a really hard time as well. Like my mum passed away when I was 11, and then I went into this state where I couldn't share with people what I felt or what I was experiencing. So I think it was really powerful for my own journey, was transmuting my trapped emotions through sound. And I would just play piano like hour after hour. And I think it's really powerful to express yourself through sound, and almost like sound is physical, like having energy leave your body. You can scream, you can dance, and you can make music. And it's like you can take that and let it release it. So that's been, I think, like the greatest gift. Or I'm just glad that is my purpose on the planet. Like I'm glad that is my medium.
And can I just say, I'm glad that it is your purpose and you're amazing at what you do, because the world needs people like yourself to just be so passionately inspired and talented. It's that fusion of all those things. you know.
And like the science of sound as well. Like I do sound baths with people teaching yoga, and it's funny, like I always want to tell people like the science of sound and like the mechanics of it and your brain waves. And my roommate's always like, Katie, people just want to experience the sound, like give them the sound bath. Like I'm always trying to tell people the facts about it, and people's brains just like glaze over and they're like, oh, okay. So
Well,
yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing that you have all that knowledge and wisdom to share, and I think that's a great segue into like teaching. And I know that that's a part of your path and where you're heading to. And I, for one, will be the first to put up my hand and say, can I learn from you? Because
Yes, my honor.
it's just it's a beautiful medium of healing, because I think that so many people resonate with different things, and you know what I do may not resonate or help someone, but then you know if sound is something that calls them, you know, you would have a much more profound impact on working with them, you know. So it's great that we all have our different little niches and signatures to
And that's
offer.
the thing, everyone can resonate with energy when they have like a felt sense of love, or they can understand on a level. Like music, people put on music in the morning to get them to a state, to a place, to a feeling. So it's cool that even though sometimes people are like, you do what with crystal bowls? Like sometimes there's still that mentality of that's really weird. It's nice just to be like, everyone can understand music, everyone can understand the feeling that they can evoke with that.
Yeah, really beautifully said. So can you talk a little bit about like because I love crystal bowls. Just just wow. I remember going back, I don't know how long, 10 years or more ago, when I was doing energy work and I was refining, and I found that I was guided to pick up like a Tibetan bowl. I have a couple, and run it across the body as a beginning or an end or start and finish, because I found that if someone's going through something really heavy, that was just an extra oomph to like shift. That's really about all.
Like an activating frequency, like it cuts through. Like a Tibetan bowl, I think, is like quite a sharp activating tone or timbre, and I think that kind of frequency cuts through the shit, like cuts through like
that's what I was
yeah.
I would like to know from you, like how did you come across your first bowl, and like what was that?
I kid you not, this story is so funny. One night I was like, that's it, I need a set of crystal bowls. I need a full set, chakra, base to crown. And then I was looking at the Crystal Warehouse or wherever, and it was like $700 a bowl. And I was like, nah, I can't afford that. And I was like, oh, I'll just look on Gumtree. And there was a base to crown set for $300, said sold on it. And I messaged the lady and I was like, please, I will come right now and pay you double if I can pick them up today. And she's like, oh, I'm selling to my friend. I'll have to check with her. And I was like, oh, I feel bad for whoever wanted it. But I was also like, these are mine. And she said yes. So I left the next morning and I drove an hour and a half to go and pick them up. And it was this like beautiful old lady with this like white hair. And as I was leaving, she just like passed them to me. She's like, these, like, I can tell that you're going to do like wonderful things with these. And I looked at Will and I was like, this is really, like, this was like I'm in a movie. Like, so the next day I had like a whole set for like $700. And then from there, yeah, I just kind of went crazy from there.
Thank you.
But yeah,
oh
magic.
My goodness. Thank you for
magic.
sharing that, because that is just what a beautiful story of like when you're on your path, how you can like manifest and materialize exactly what you need, you know,
rapidly,
just like boom, you know.
Very cool. And then when I went and studied in San Fran, they were using crystal tone bowls. I'll show you here. And they are incredible. They're made out of 99% quartz. So this one here is an androgynous Indian bowl. The left and right hemispheres of the brain, balances the energies. So they all have different energies. Like, I think the way that I relate to crystal bowls is that, like, this one is a Venusian bowl and it brings forth the energy of Venus. Like, I think with crystals, you know, like I can really channel different energies through this because I know that they have their own consciousness. They're such high frequency. They're just like, yes, that's one sound and many different overtones, but it's also like the pure expression of whatever you're calling in or what that crystal.
Wow.
It's like having a crystal in your body and then just like.
Which brings, that poses a really good question that just popped into my head, and bear with me, I'm going to have to try and like make a sentence. But it just dawned on me, because obviously part of our ascension is that our bodies are transforming from carbon to crystalline. And so it just kind of went, well, that makes sense in the way that there are different sounds and like.
And there's crystals all in our body. I remember I watched the Sound Healing Summit online, and there was the owner or the manufacturer of crystal tones was talking about the way that our body resonates with these bowls so deeply is because we have crystals in our bones, we have crystals in our blood, we have crystals in our third eye. So we are becoming crystalline, and we are like resonating with crystal. It's like directly, like when you strike a wine glass and then the other one goes, like, you're resonating. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think that's something that can be pondered.
I just visualize you walking around as a crystal and me just like playing crystal balls, and we're all just like da, 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 da. That's how it works, right?
Exactly. Oh my God, I love that.
We just turn into crystals.
You know, when people like have a fear of public speaking, and that age old saying of like, just envision everybody naked. Well, take it to a whole new level. Just imagine them.
You could get really descriptive with that. You got to be careful with playing with your imagination too much, though. Sometimes I just get too far out, and then I have to be like, hey, human, planet Earth, like physical body.
And speaking of that, like, I mean, probably one of the many reasons why we connected and had such a like instant soul to soul sisterhood, which is beautiful, and I'm so grateful for that. It is probably the galactic component that we kind of recognized each other on, and I don't think we're still fully uncovered how, what, when, why, but obviously I refer to you as a galactic goddess, because really that's exactly what you are. Do you tend to find that like galactic beings assist you in the work that you do, or you know, that galactic aspect of yourself?
I definitely feel like when I started to understand where my I think it was the first session with you that you said there were 3 star systems connected into you. And then from there, I think I've just been developing a bigger awareness of, the Arcturian, like there's a meditation of the Arcturian healing chamber, and understanding that they're all about color and frequency, and just having like a deep resonance. And like our session yesterday, like Sirius, I just feel when I am in a session and I call on, like definitely the Arcturian Healing Council, any being who has the most information of this work, it's like the room floods. Like literally there'll be so many beings, and I'll just be like, oh, excuse me, like, like come and help me. So I think like 100%, I'm realizing in my sound baths now, I just tune out and I say, what needs to come through for everyone's highest good, please come through, and I'll know that I have my team there. I'm always working with I'm always chatting, always. Questionably more than I chat with humans, but and then the angelic realm as well. I think I work a lot with like the healing energy of Michael, Raphael, Metatron.
Yeah, Yeah, it's very infused, the work that you do. And I think it's great that there's so many components to it, because, not everyone not everyone resonates with galactic, some people resonate more with angelic, and, there's all the different flavors going on the planet. So it's,
and even like the elementals, like sometimes I'll see someone on the table and I'm like, oh, you're clearly Fey origin. And then I'll call in their beings and they'll have like such like cheeky, like I always want to drum when they're around, they all have their own timbre. They all have their own textures of sound, which is, I think galactic is quite sound bowl and like,
oh, I love when you do that. It just, yeah, I guess I would feel it in energies. And you maybe hear it in toning or different frequencies, and there is very specific differences, isn't there?
And you're right, it's whatever someone resonates with as well. Like I want everyone in sessions to feel that it's always about them. It's always what they need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how I can facilitate that.
Yeah, something comes to mind, because like sometimes, probably less and less these days, but like going back a few years ago, like if I would do a session, right, and I'd be in the room and it would be like a client for the first time, so I'm still on a human level still, and like all this galactic stuff will come through and I just kind of sit there going, yeah, not sharing that, like
not saying that aloud.
Yeah.
I remember I did at the beginning, I was sharing it, and this one lady, she had booked in for 3 sessions and she kind of left and she's like, oh, thank you. And I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah. And like I just knew immediately I just crossed, like I have no point of reference. I think when you first awaken to everything, you're just so excited about it that there's like so many, it's like going from 1 to 10 and the person's like just and they're like, oh.
Yeah, I think we all go through that of like, oh, that was too much, oops, gotta feel it out or whatever, but we get better at it, like.
And also sometimes I don't really mind. I'm kind of like, oh, you got to know at some point. Like when I teach Reiki, I'm just real honest, and it's like, if you got to know, maybe.
Yeah.
And if you want to know and you start to wake up and need to know, you've heard me say that word and you might be like, oh, cool, like it's safe here.
Right, absolutely. And I look back on my journey, I'm sure you do too, like there were like, I clearly point out like when people were like planting seeds with me, and it's like I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, that seed was planted at the time. I would have had that glazed look. That you see that when you say something to someone and they get that glazed look. I can clearly think of times where I would have had that glazed look, but it then came forward. It was necessary. It was definitely important. So
setting the foundation. And then did you feel like it connected the dots as you were? Did you feel safe to then be like, oh, you're a person that I can?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Especially the galactic stuff, when it came in hard and strong for me. I actually reached out to the one of the people who kind of planted that seed, because it was like someone that I knew that I could trust and like I could connect with, just to what the hell is going on? Why can I not have one quiet evening without beings in my room or flying above my house? And then we adjust. So but yeah, so I'm just trying to think. You mentioned something about you did mention how you came across the bowls, but there were a couple of things that we wanted to talk about, which was like the toning to the chakras, and also the power of people's own voice. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is a workshop that I've been really passionate. I went down to Melbourne and did my first interstate sound bath workshop, which was terrifying. It was actually it's like quite hard to stand in front of a group of people for 2.5 hours and share what you know, when you feel everyone's energy, and yeah, it's a funny process. But the intro of that, the theme of that was toning the chakras, and basically how you can utilize sound. Like, I think Jonathan Goldman is the leading man in this. He has a toning the chakras on YouTube, and essentially it's that every part of our body has a different resonance and a different pitch or tone, and that will be different for everyone. But there are seed syllables for each of the chakras that you can consciously connect to with your own voice. So like Lam there's different, there's like I and Lam, but it's essentially like coming in, bringing your awareness in, and like sending yourself down and singing from that part of your body. So like, and finding that own sound for you, and kind of visualizing the energy moving and shifting and clearing. Like your own voice is, when you're making your own sound, you're giving every cell of your body an internal massage, an internal retune. It's shifting. Like if you've ever seen cymatics, the movement of sound in water, you can see that it's constantly breaking down and creating form. It's always like a sacred geometrical pattern. And it's like, that's what you do in your own body. Like I think it's quite intimidating, because from a young age we've been taught to be quiet, don't make that sound. Like babies are the best sound healers. They feel upset and they cry, they release that emotion there and then. I think like 100% of the people that I see, I just want to be like, yo, make the sound of what you feel. And I feel like it's so terrifying. It's really terrifying. So I think like being empowered to make your own sound, and understanding if you feel anxious, creating a stable tone will create stability in your nervous system. Like sometimes I'll be driving in the grocery store and everything will be just so much, and I'll just making a stable tone, keeping your nervous system in, and then going through and toning each of the chakras every day, like morning and night, and kind of like visualizing the color, visualizing whatever's natural to you, and tuning in with yourself.
Yeah, that's a beautiful element and component. It's like all these like bing, bing, bing going on in my head. And obviously, like, you know, we've spoken about doing some collaborative work together in the future, and that's going to be like, just can't wait for that. But yeah, that's just an element that I think I've known but hasn't come into the forefront, because I was just thinking about how chakra work has been at the forefront of a lot of the stuff that I do, and how the foundations have been built. And you know, I remember like I'm like, oh my god. So like I remember you know, I used to do like chakra clearing meditations every day and things like that. This is like, you know, years and years ago, and I came across Chakra Dance, like a little like book and CD. I've probably got it somewhere, and they had different sounds, and I just loved it. And I used to like dance it out here in this room, and it was not very big. I think one day I've like pulled a muscle or something while working on this solar plexus, because it was so sort of like masculine, you know, fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
Just having but yeah, like I think getting back on track, and what I've been kind of calling, especially for the month of November and probably for the rest of the year, is like this energy hygiene or clearing for people to do, to assist them with the heaviness and everything that's going on at the moment, individually and collectively, and the the clearing of the chakras and the energy body is such a big part of that. Like, so, you know, Joe and I were talking about how energy hygiene and adjustment is probably more important than physical hygiene, even though both are, you know, important. But I guess,
especially because people don't regularly clean their energy bodies. Like our session yesterday, it's like if you didn't shower for however long, whatever we cleared yesterday, you would rot and die. Like when you clean that part, you get that part of you back, and you're like, whoa, that was dirty. Like, and you want to tell people, but like that's quite a far out concept for now for some people.
for some,
but yeah, but totally energy hygiene, totally.
Totally. So I mean, I know and I'll put in the description box below how people can connect with you and follow you and book sessions with you, and all the amazing things that you offer. And I personally would, recommend to connect with Katie Jane to do that work if that's something, that resonates. But I was going to pose the question to you, like, let's say people want like something to do right now, and they have to, is there things that you would suggest that people can do on their own, or find?
That's funny you say that. Yeah, totally. I think that the most empowering thing is, like, you don't need, like, sound healing is amazing for someone to guide you, but I think like creating your own relationship through sound with yourself every single day is what's going to empower you and change your vibration. And like, say that you have a trapped emotion in your body and you're going through heartache, or you feel wildly anxious and you don't know why. Acknowledging how you feel by simply making the sound of how you feel, I think, is this first stage. I think it's not immediately transforming it. It's not like, oh, I don't want to feel that bad feeling, let's like sing a happy song. Like, no, you have to be like, I did that for so long. I was like, I will never feel pain again. But like, I was just dying on the inside. Making the sound of how you feel and singing that out, and kind of like allowing that energy to build and put a color, put a whatever, and sing that sound. So if you feel like so exhausted, you could just be like, and then just let that come out, repeat that until you're kind of ready to let that shift. And then you can like make it a little more bright. You can make it, you're kind of like guiding your own sound into the resonance that you want to feel. So shifting that tone and then being like, okay, well, now I feel a little less tired. How does that sound? And then like transforming that until, like, I did it one time, I was super anxious and it took me like 15 minutes. By the end I was like, woo! And like transforming that. And then I think like pulling through and resonating with like the emotions higher consciousness, like love and peace, when you have let that go, and just like really with your own voice making it with the feeling of love, like making a sound with the feeling of love. And then sending that out, sending that into your room. You can create your own force field with sound. You could just go, because sound is a physical thing. Sound in the Bible, or was it the word of God, like sound is the first thing.
Wow,
there's so much you can do.
You've just like my mind right now. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's just like, it's so simplistic and it's something that people can do, but it's, wow, I can see the potency behind. It's been on my radar the last couple of days, and I've been laughing about how when I was going through a really like angry time and different, feeling, betrayal or, really heavy emotions. And I went back to a time in my early 20s where, a boyfriend cheated on me and I felt really betrayed and whatever. And I literally went through this 6-month transformation where I would get up in the morning and go running, which is the first and last time probably.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm not a runner. I'm really exercise. But I felt compelled to do this kind of really more kind of aggressive to get it out. And I had this track that I listened to every morning, which was like some pretty angry, hardcore hip hop rap.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And I don't really listen to it anymore, but occasionally if I'm feeling that way, maybe not that, but yeah, I will get something that's like really got a lot of
tangible. Totally.
And sing it out or like feel it out. So
and then you don't want to feel like that forever. Like you got met with that and then you could transform it,
Right.
You need to meet it where it's at.
Yeah, I was almost contemplating like doing a playlist because I'm a lyric person. You know, I know that there's people that are sound and there are people who are lyric. For me, it's all about the lyrics. And so I'm like, might create my own playlist for those moments. So I guess that's another thing, is if you want to start at some really hardcore music in whatever genre appeals to you, whether it's like, you know, and then sort of move it to the higher frequency vibrational music. Anyway, I'm just like,
and releasing it. I remember when I was super angry, I'd put on like really like angry drumming. Like drumming is another one that gets you moving. And I'd drive to the old Blockbuster, because Blockbuster had shut down, in the car lot, and I'd sit there and I would scream all of my energy out, and then I'd put my head on the horn until the horn went out, and I'd literally just turn up the music like a psychopath and just be like, okay. And then I just drive home like nothing had happened. But in that moment, you know, like I just released everything, and then I would just be like, okay, like, cool, like,
yeah.
And you see so many people with that energy behind their eyes, and you're like, you just need to scream, man. Like,
yeah, I know. I remember when I was teaching, and we were talking about safe ways to release emotion, and we got onto sound and projection of voice, and we had this big conversation about where can you go in your environment, like that's easily accessible, that you can go and scream and you're not gonna, like, people aren't gonna call the cops or think someone's dying, you know. So it's
kids just go on the street, man. My neighbors' kids, they're just always screaming on the street, and I'm like, channel some of that. Like, thank you, I'll live vicariously through you.
Yeah, totally. Oh wow, this is I really hope that this helps whoever's watching, and like, thank you for who is, you know, joined us and listening in, because it's just some really good practical ways that you can, and especially at the moment, like, I think it's really important for people to access different ways and try new things, and really allow the heavy, yucky, ancestral eons of gunk that's rising up. I mean, we connected and did a session yesterday, and like, that was old.
That's so old, man. That's so powerful. Thank you. It's so old, and I feel just like, alive. Yeah. And the messages that came through were pretty trippy and cool as well.
Yeah,
it was all very cool.
It was very, very cool. And I think you, like, just as our connection yesterday in the session is just like one small story or facet or experience that is shared by many right now on the planet, you know, because we are releasing some really dense, heavy stuff, and a lot of it's quite ancient, held in the bones and, like, you know, in the ancient DNA, because that's what the collective's shifting through, to allow this new energy and influx to be flooding the planet, you know.
I think I would say, like, if anyone is watching and they are feeling like that, I would say, like, the gong, if you have an area in wherever you live and there's a gong bar, go and immerse your body in the vibrations, the shaking of a gong or a rattle. Like, there's trees in Australia where they make that little, like, rattle sound. Like, you can clear your field with a rattle, you can clear and cleanse, but like, the act of being submerged with your physical, with your aura, with your energetic in a room of gong. And then if you want, like, some extra, like, to put the new frequencies in, I see that as going and having a sound bowl bath. Like, there's different, like, go and put your physical body in something for an hour and see how that feels. Because I think you can do a lot of the work like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's such good advice. I'm immersed in that right now, visualizing myself.
Showering and sound. People are like, what do you mean a bath? I'm like, you'll see.
Yeah. So I have another curious question. What is some of the coolest things that you've experienced or observed through your work, or anything that comes to mind of, like, You know those moments where you're like, wow, just wow.
I think I think they come through when I feel the most connected to someone and safe in a way where I know that they can trust the experience. When I was in San Fran, Nicola Buffer, the girl that I was staying with, I remember I was practicing on her, and it was the first time that sound had really come through, and I got transported, and we were in this ancient healing pyramid, and I saw her body, and she was dressed in white, and she was on this bed. And I think that's the first time that I truly understood like the role of sound through time and my soul's journey through that. And it was like I got taken back in time, and it was like I was healing different levels of just our connection in all of the different lives, and like singing straight into her body and seeing like the shapes change and the colors change. Like I think when it gets really visual with sound, and singing a song came through, and she just started crying. She's like, oh, like I know that song. Or like when people have recognition of the messages that come through, I think that's really powerful and really cool. Or I don't know, yeah.
That
so really
sounds
interesting.
so incredibly amazing. I love I just love it. I mean, obviously people can connect with you, and I'll put the details down, like you've got your website, you've got your social media, so Instagram and Facebook. I know you've got a Patreon page set up as well, and YouTube. And you created something so beautiful on YouTube. Just
for sunrise. Yeah.
that just I was having like a full on, really quite like geared up, frantic day, and you sent that through just at the perfect time. And it just sort of popped up. I was like, wow. And I like played it, and I just felt everything just readjust. I was like, all right, I'm good to keep going. So
that's amazing. Yeah, I think I want to start moving into specialized tracks. Like I connect with someone, and then I feel their energy, and then I call on their higher self, and then I just play for like 20-30 minutes and see what comes through just for them.
Yeah, I love that.
Endless.
Yeah, the amazing stuff that's has come through already and will continue to evolve and come through. It's just like that's what excites me. That's what just gets me up in the morning. Right, let's get going. So yeah, well, I will put all those links of how people can find you and connect with you and listen to you and sample and all that beautiful stuff.
Would love to connect with people.
Yeah. So just do it, people. Do it. No, don't. Just
in your own time. Do what you want.
Time.
You do you.
Exactly. And I would love to come back around and do more of these videos with you, because I think there's so many topics and so much that we can explore and talk about and share, if you would be okay with that.
I love talking to you. It's funny, like I feel sparked. I can see when you get a download, and then I'll get a download bouncing off that, and I just feel like it's this funny, like you could say anything and we would just have the right information. So I would love to.
The beauty in that is just incredible when you something comes in and it's a bing bing bing. So, and definitely stuff that would love to share with you all. So I would say write your comments if you've enjoyed our conversation, if it sparked a download or a question or something that you want to share. I would absolutely encourage you to put in the comments in. And then that way when we connect again and do the next video, then we can kind of address some of those things. And I'd love to hear what you want to hear too. So before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to share, or is there anything that sort of comes to mind?
I guess my main message would be for humans to start making the sound of how they feel and start making their own sounds. Just choosing to resonate and express yourself, because I think that's the most important. I keep having this vision of like the whole world kind of like making a sound at once, and what energy that would, like what shift that would be able to create. Like, even though we feel like our voices are small, I don't know, everyone umming and creating that vibration ripples out so far and we don't even know. So it's like, just make a sound and do it.
What a perfect message, and what a beautiful imagery to accompany that to close off. So yeah, make a sound.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And thank
Thank
you to
you.
all the humans watching.
Thank you, Katie Jane. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Sending so much love, and we will certainly connect with you soon. Mwah, much love. Bye.